Nobody's going to give you anything, especially in entertainment. And so the only things that you can possibly do for yourself are constant motion. The moment you lock in and rinse and repeat on anything, you're host, because there's no moat, there's no, society doesn't owe you your, anything, your career that you spent 10,000 hours getting to. When an opening appears, you need to jump to it.
Welcome to another CG garage, where the monstrous moon shines. We're building new Hollywood, like in 1971's prime. From authors' bold dreams to AI's fever dream, where tech meets the silver or LED screen. Pixels and passion, our pipelines unknown. Two hosts, one show, on a deadline postponed.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the CG Garage. This is episode number 536, featuring Andy Cochrane, who is a big expert in his field and a big fan. That Daniel and I are a big fan of his work, especially the stuff he's doing in immersive technology, which is really fascinating in itself. He's also co-host of the CG Pro show, which is really great, and run by Ed over at CG Pro. He also has another version of the podcast that he does there, and a lot of fun to have him on. We talked to Andy quite a bit about the industry, and it's really kind of fascinating. We lean in on sort of a lecture that was done back in 2015, believe it or not, by Mark Duplass, who basically said the Cavalry is not coming. So if you're going to be sitting here and waiting for a studio to save you or to hire you for their next movie, it's not going to happen. And we sort of lean into that fact, talking about movies like Iron Lung and Everything Everywhere All at Once, and those types of films, which are really sort of self-made films and self-promoted, which is really kind of becoming the new way of getting your content out there. So we lean into that quite a bit. We also talk about some of the things that Andy's doing with Loud Movies, which is quite fascinating, and you'll hear a lot more about that at the end of the podcast. So with that, make sure and listen to it. A couple of announcements that we have is that I will be at the HPA retreat this week. So if you happen to be at HPA this week, I'd love to see you. I'll be recording some podcasts while I'm there. We're also getting ready for NAB, and I will be at NAB in April. So if you happen to be at NAB and you'd like to meet up, drop us a line and let us know. The best way to reach us is through the podcast email, podcast@cggarage.com. You can also just go to our regular podcast page, which is cggarage.com. And of course, you can always go to our Discord, which is also very popular. Just go to cggarage.com/Discord, and it'll redirect you towards our Discord. But for now, please enjoy episode number 536 with Andy Cochrane.
This episode of CG Garage is sponsored by CenterGrid Virtual Studio. Wondering why you went to film school just to be stuck managing hardware life cycles? CenterGrid delivers end-to-end GPU-accelerated cloud workstations built specifically for VFX and creative production, with flat, predictable pricing and personalized support from people who actually get your workflow. Plus, CenterGrid is TPN Gold Shield certified, so your studio's security is locked down. Check out what Virtual Studio can do for your pipeline at cgvirtualstudio.com. This episode of CG Garage is sponsored by Kitbash 3D, one of our favorite tools and an essential tool for 3D artists everywhere. With the largest library of cinematic quality, production-ready 3D assets, Kitbash 3D ensures that your studio has the tools to build stunning environments quickly, efficiently, and at scale. Design detailed worlds in a fraction of the time without compromising on quality. Head to kitbash3d.com and use the code CGGarage at checkout for 10% off any kit. Again, that's kitbash3d.com, code CGGarage.
It's amazing. This is a good story to start with. When I only did podcasts in person, right? That was my rule. Like, I'm only doing in person because I was snobby, whatever. And then the pandemic happens. Like, well, you either don't have a podcast or you figure this shit out, right? And so there was another system called stream pod, like something else, right? And it was similar to what Riverside is, but it was really sort of based for audio only, which is what it was. And it was cool, but not. And then Riverside came along. It's like, how about we just do this a little bit better? And I jumped on board. It's like, oh, let's try it. So I was one of the first Riverside people to try this. And I remember like Riverside was probably only a week or two old when it got started. Now everyone talks about Riverside like it's like iTunes for podcasting. Like everyone uses this.
I feel like it's so.
I should have invested in this. I should have invested in this. And every day they make new features. Are like, oh, that's actually useful. That's good to know. And that's stuff that you do after you record. Like all the little, So
No, it's huge. And then when you use it, you start like one of my favorite features that I use a lot is actually editing my title.
Oh,
nice. There you go.
I'm just like constantly updating, whatever it says.
Because I was very tempted to identify myself because I have the T-shirt as the most Gen X thing ever. Ookla the Mock from Thunder the Barbarian.
Oh yeah,
So I think this is as far as I can go before they cut me off.
You've been going a little.
That's it. I know you got the new Infinite Jest copy 30th anniversary, Dan, but it's
going a little crazy with your Gen X stuff.
I'm in my prime. I'm in my Gen X prime right now, where I'm more irrelevant than I've ever been, and I'm embracing it wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing about Gen X is that like. Gen X just keeps kind of chiming in with like, yeah, we were there first. Yeah, we already know that. We did we did that. I was like, right, but you didn't do anything about it.
No, I didn't mean to say that. Yeah, good Lord, no shit.
Why would we want to stand out?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
cool. I came up with that, and then I just sort of didn't. I sat around and I complained.
I needed you to know. I needed you to know that I knew before you were born.
A long time ago, I was.
We're the only generation that fixes our parents' computers and our kids' computers.
Yeah, exactly. It's good. I feel very good about this.
We fix both computers. Neither of them know how to use a computer.
iPads, on the other hand.
Yeah, that's right.
iPads are a pain in the ass, man. Where's the C prompt?
It's terrible. It's terrible. You can't remote administer this.
What? DIR? I can't write that in anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Andy, obviously, you've been a big fan of ours and a fan of the show, and we have a mutual podcast passions, so we can talk a little bit about that. But for those who may not have seen or heard some of the stuff you've done that are listeners to my podcast, let's give a little backstory here. What's your origin story? Where's the radioactive spider that bit you and turned you into the Andy Cochrane that you are today?
Man, it's like how far back? There's the 5-minute version and the 30-second version. The 30-second version is that I went to film school, ended up in visual effects, and then slowly migrated towards immersive and interactive. A lot of weird little stops along the way, and my transition from sort of traditional film, TV, commercial, music video, mostly VFX, into what I call weird stuff because there's not a great name for it, was probably like started in earnest like 2010ish and is still going today. I still get dragged into traditional stuff all the time. But
what was the film school? Why did you want to go to film school? Were you interested in movies?
I wanted to be a movie director since I was like 10. I was, literally like almost burning my garage down doing special effects, when I was 10 with the family. We had a VHS-C camera and learned how to edit tape to tape from VCR to VHS-C and could do like titles with this superimposition effect. Read every single book on production that the San Jose library had, which was like 4. And then it was my dream was just I wanted to be a movie director, and went to applied and got into USC, went there, was in production, phenomenal school. And then I stepped out of film school like everyone in my class, and I think every film school, and just was like, cool. So I just went to business school to learn how to be a CEO. And so now I'll take one CEO position, please.
What do you got?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing.
What do you think?
Every graduating class from USC Film School, there are 150 director jobs available right after you graduate. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you just walk right to the top, straight to the top, skip the bell room.
And the other directors are super happy. The non-competitive, absolutely, would they welcome you with a welcome to the club? Thank you very much. Wonderful.
There's infinite amount of movies to be made to show in theaters every year.
Absolutely, and infinite budgets, and so I literally, like everyone, I was like, okay, what now? And got a job as a post-production runner for CSI Miami season 1. It was miserable. I hated every second of it. Many awful. I was just in my car. I was in my car 70 plus hours a week, burning like 1,500 miles a week. Just didn't see. I didn't see humans. I saw secretaries that I handed tapes to, and that was my entire life. And a visual effects company called Asylum was doing the effects for the first, I think, 6 episodes or something like that. And I was doing a run. I loved Asylum. It was just a great attitude and environment. Very Australian.
In Santa Monica? Was it in their Santa Monica office?
Santa Monica. Yep. 7th and Wilshire. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was on a run, and they were always late, so they were always trying to distract me, so I wouldn't report back that they were late. So they would feed me and entertain me. And one of the producers came out one day and said, "You're here again? We should give you a desk." And everyone laughed. And then I was like, "Actually, I hate this job. If you're hiring, I would love it." And they were like, "Oh, okay, drop off your resume the next tomorrow when you do your next run." And
what year was this?
2002.
Oh, okay. So there were lots of jobs available then. Yeah.
It was, yeah. I mean, it was definitely a different time, but it wasn't, and so I was the runner for Asylum for a year, and just sat next to flame ops and down in the CG room, and what's that? What are you doing? Why did you do that? What's that? And then eventually kind of transitioned into artistry, and it wasn't until maybe like 2007, 8, 9, 10, somewhere, that I was like, oh, visual effects is not a path to the rest of the industry. It's a vendor. It's like catering. It's like you
took me a long time to realize that too.
Whew, boy, I wish didn't teach that.
Exactly. I'm going to become a caterer, and then they're going to let me direct. This is fantastic.
Somebody's going to, I'll be sitting, in the room with the directors and the producers.
Props to directing.
Talking about how they want their espresso, and then they'll hand the reins to me.
They'll just be like, "You look like you got some good ideas." I
never heard the catering thing before. Now it's my entire life is so much more clear in retrospect that I may age while we're on this podcast.
I'm gonna take that back. Catering actually has a better chance because they're actually speak to the director more.
They're actually there. I think
you talk to the stars. Yeah, that's
they
true.
actually talk to the director. They ask him, "Do you want iced tea with that?"
Yeah. And if they're like really happy-go-lucky, maybe they tell some jokes. Maybe there's a moment where they could be like, "Hey, here's my headshot. Here's my resume.
You want to be an extra as a taco stand guy?"
Okay. Whatever. Yeah. No. So the it was not clear to me at all that there was a path, there wasn't a path until almost kind of too late. And then that was right around the Troubles, right? That was right around the beginning of the it was the economy crashed and killed a bunch of small boutique shops, so the pool went down. And then there was 2012 was the Oscars, but before VFX Soldier and the Oscars, there's the portable employers of record and the 1099 fiascos, where just the workers in LA were just getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. Outsourcing was starting to bite.
Asylum closed in 2008 or 9?
10. Yeah, I left in April of 2009. And it was just the Troubles, right? Everyone knew what was going, and the thing I've been saying, you guys know, everyone watching this podcast knows, most likely, what's happening in the film industry today is what happened past tense in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12 to visual effects. And so when everyone's like, I don't understand we're like, remember when we changed our profiles green and we protested outside the Oscars, and Ang Lee thanked the tank team, and then one of our beloved visual effects giants collapsed, and you kind of laughed a little bit about that.
It's sort of a joke.
We did a whole podcast with Jeff Oken. I don't know if you've heard that podcast. It got a lot of
I didn't
attention.
hear that episode, no. But
it's good. Jeff Oken basically tried to. It's funny. I'm just going to say that Jeff Oken, I had Scott Ross on the podcast with VFX Soldier, like what happened since then, so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a podcast. And then suddenly, VS Jeff Oken said, I should be on your podcast. I was like, okay. So he gave his side of the story. And then the comment section started to fly with Scott Ross and Jeff Oken.
Different points of view.
Different points of view of what actually happened. Yeah. Both agreeing, by the way, that it was a shit time.
It was a shit time. And not to peel back bandages and dig into scabs, but Jeff was a partial owner of Prana, right? The Indian stereo conversion company.
Jeff Oken?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if he was or not. But there was a moment where the VES waded into the chaos in the middle of VFX Soldier, and just kind of were like, we are as good as any body to represent visual effects.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We will handle it.
Right.
And then didn't.
Yeah.
And so they kind of silenced a lot of momentum and killed it. So anyway, so that created a situation in which I got out of features. The last feature I worked on was Terminator Salvation 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And transitioned
so 2009 is when you kind of exited production, I'm assuming. Right?
I exited a feature. Like feature VFX.
Feature.
That was definitely.
But you've gotten into more interesting and stranger things since then. That's become your business.
It was a bridge. Yeah.
Right,
I'm a weird stuff guy.
You're a weird stuff guy.
You're a weird stuff guy. So let's talk about what weird stuff means first.
So in 2009, I started freelancing it was supposed to just be one job for money, doing some fluid sims on a commercial at Motion Theory, which it wasn't announced that Motion Theory was about to become Mirada, but they were basically like, stay. And I was like, no, I want to direct, and I want to, I got to get out of this VFX, bubble. And they're like, stay. And I was like, right, but I want to direct. I don't really want to just do VFX. And they're like, stay. And then in the end of 2009, they announced that Guillermo del Toro and Guillermo Navarro, who had been seen in the hallways, were actually here to form a new company called Mirada, and that it was going to be a transmedia company. To which everyone said, what does that mean? And Mirada said,
it's the same thing as when they said,
right.
It's the same thing as when they said multimedia in 1995.
Yes. Yeah. It was like,
multimedia. Okay.
And it was, I mean, they put it on the door, right? Like a transmedia company, big announcements and everything. And so we started getting calls for non-traditional projects. And that was 2010. So it was, web was pretty big, installations, museums, there was no XR of any kind, really. There's no VR, AR, any of that, really. And so just projects kept coming in that I had done all the VFX work, but then I'd also gone to film school. So I did have a background in sort of storytelling, but my nights and weekends on top of visual effects was doing really high-tech improv comedy. And that my company, the AV Club Productions, was founded to be the company around this improv, highly, wildly experimental stuff that we were doing. And that gave me...
Chris may not even know this, but Andy and I were part of the same writing group for a long time.
Same
so
what
I got
group?
to see writing, sort of like a writing meeting group. And
it was a drinking club with a writing problem.
With writing, just a writing
with a writing problem.
Yeah, with a writing problem. Exactly.
A drinking support group with a writing problem.
With a writing problem.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, and so we get to see all of this develop, and like everybody in that group has gone on to their own kind of success, I think, which is all very interesting. But I think that your trajectory has led to some of the most interesting and most bizarre things I've ever seen anyone attempt. So, it's really, really thrilling. And so, that it starts off with comedy is is appropriate, and it leads to wild things. Please go ahead. I just want to
No,
throw that
no,
fact in there.
and it's I did improv in high school. I did it in college. I love improv. I think it is a huge part of any success that I have in life is because it teaches you not just extemporaneous thinking on your feet, but it also jazz style teaches you the value of repetition and training, and it is a team sport that fails without team groupthink.
Yeah.
So it's mandatory. There's no auteurs or stars in improv. It is a very troop-based exercise. So that just led to the AV Club was really just kind of like, let's just try it. Let's try, like I've got this idea that we can combine technology and bring it into improv comedy, which is very low tech. You don't even have props in improv comedy.
Yes, and it can also support podcasting.
Yeah, that's right. Very true.
Yes, it can.
Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, and a huge number of
That was my improv
podcasters-
joke, by the way. Just sorry.
Yeah.
That was
Yes,
good. I
and.
liked it.
Yes, and. Yes.
And actually, a ton of successful podcasters early on were improvisers.
Yeah, because
they
that's
weren't
the whole point,
necessarily-
right? It's the idea of having this conversation and
Yeah,
following,
it's going off
we can
the
do
couple,
this, and you'll go this
Mhm.
way and go that way. Yeah.
Right.
build
Yep.
and and so I was the only one in the building. Everyone in the building at Mirada was either a very high-end visual effects mind or a very high-end motion graphics kind of design mind.
Right.
There weren't a lot of people with experience outside of those lanes. And this improv comedy had given me experience to app development, web development, tons of sort of live broadcasty kind of things. We were doing flash puppets, literally flash, and green screens and remote crews running DV tapes, and just solving all of those problems had opened my mind a little bit. So as these projects, these transmedia projects came through the door, they would just kind of be like, Andy, have you ever heard of this before? And then I would be the supervisor, or, I would get thrown on that. And the most emblematic of how they all went was I got pulled into one of the EP's office. They're like, have you ever heard of WebGL? And I was like, no. And they're like, all right, here, come around my desk here. Look, this is WebGL. And I was like, oh, so it's like 3D rendering in a web browser? And they're like, yeah. Google is in the conference room with Chris Milk about a project, and we need to basically talk to them about it. And that was the entirety of my onboarding on a project that ended up being Rome, which was the launch of WebGL, because Google was kind of the backer of WebGL. It is still often listed as one of the top 10 WebGL experiences, 15 years later or whatever it is.
Right.
Yep.
But there were so many projects at Mirada that went like that, which is like, here's a new thing, but we need you to bridge our old thing into the new thing. We know motion graphics, visual effects, production, editorial, color. We know all those things well. How does that work in here? And so Rome was prototyped in Houdini, and translated into WebGL by North Kingdom. And so like there was a lot of stuff like that where there was literally like, we did a massive installation for IBM, and I was literally given the storyboards on the flight to the shoot in Chicago.
Right.
And it was,
Right.
and they're like the very, very minimal visual effects. And I get to the page that's like, and the camera pans down to the surface of the moon. Literally. So it's like, no visual effects. Okay.
No, it's
and that
fine.
turned in,
We have
really
the moon
simple.
exists already, right? We're good.
Listen, if Stanley Kubrick can do the moon landing back in 1968, you can.
That's right.
Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it.
So-
Anyone can do it.
So let me ask you this, because obviously you talked about your creative background, your director, and the fact that you want to do, you did all this improv stuff. But what you're specifically talking about, this transmedia group, you have to be very technically savvy at the same time, more technically savvy than even most visual effects people, because you have to think future technology or even cutting edge technology like WebGL. So how did you pick up on all that tech?
It was the AV Club. Nothing we did at the AV Club was intentional or formal. It was all kind of just like, that might work. Let's see it. Let's see how that could work out.
Sure.
And then at Mirada, as the need to kind of get ahead of things became apparent, I started I do it to this day. I started just a habit of both reading a ton, like I'm just all over news sites, daily, just really kind of like paying attention to. Back then it was like a lot of Gizmodo and Engadget talking about stuff that was, some cool tech demo or whatever. But just pay attention to what's going on, and then dive in to try and understand it. And I keep saying, like, I need to push the marketing and salespeople's out of the way, talk to an actual engineer, get their phone number, get their instant messenger, make sure that they know I'm going to be calling them at 2 a.m, and then basically just be like, I'm going to put your stuff into an uncomfortable place. I'm going to put it in production, and it's not really ready for that. But I need you to know that I'm not going to let it fail, because plan B is something we did last time, and that'll work. So your plan A, trust me, it's going to be okay. But I do need to know, like, what is it good at? What is it bad at? And I'm going to avoid the things it's bad at. But you have to tell me about them. You can't lie and say this thing flies and,
because there's so many ways in improv to like break what's going on. Like, but you take the yes. Like you take the yes. Like,
and you this
is the idea.
I think that's the thing too with improv. It is most like jazz, right? Like nobody up there is playing their instrument for the first time. Mm-hmm. But then similarly, nobody up there has played this exact composition together. Right. You are using things that you have tested and work. Like when you're doing an improv joke, it's probably something you've done before.
Like everything that like the entire history that you just outlined for yourself, like it clarified for me like something I've intrinsically felt about you anyway, but that really that I feel really connected to now, like Chris and I have been up to and all this kind of jazz. And this state of the industry as it is now is like, okay, so like, let me wrap up a bunch of ideas really quickly that we just talked about. Sorry, I'm just going to try to cram these together. Number one, it's
like you're coming up on it on the fly here.
This is going to say good luck. Everyone just,
I was like, good luck.
Okay.
Good luck.
I need some sort of like something you'd find in a kitchen. Anybody something you'd find in a kitchen. But seriously, the first collapse went through the VFX collapse, right? Yeah. Like, this is the troubles, right? Now, without
how did Jeff call it? The kerfuffle.
The kerfuffle. Ooh. Like what I struggled with at that time, and struggled in myself, and I saw everyone else struggling with, is like I think that many people were waiting around for someone else to come and save them.
Oh yeah.
And I include myself in that. Like I'm not trying to be like holier than thou in that. Like, but I feel that there's a sensibility of just like, man, someone should really do something about this, And
I worked really hard.
Exactly.
I worked really hard to get here, and I feel like this is threatened, and I feel like somebody should protect it.
Somebody should. Yes, exactly. There's a line in Zodiac when Jake Gyllenhaal goes to Robert Downey Jr.'s house, and it was like, I was thinking about maybe I should write a book. And Robert Downey Jr., who is like in his fucking underwear, he's already given up. He's like, someone should write a book. Absolutely. It's just like that's what I felt about what was going on. Someone should write a fucking book. And I'm just like this idea. You also find this, for instance, I'm going to, again, webbing these things together, in film school, like the promised directorial career, like, which isn't real, like if any,
that was the promise. That was the promise also at like places like Full Sail. They're like, come get, spend $250,000 here and you'll go work at Pixar and make your favorite movies.
All I got to do.
In fact, you've already earned it. You've actually already earned it by getting into this program.
That's right. So I ordered the
hard part is behind you.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't have to do it. And like these ideas.
This is the training. This is the onboarding. You got the job. This is just
everything
the
will be mine. And like this idea of how can I say it? Like that directing and making films and any of these creative processes are anything other than constant improv is what hurts people the most. Like there is no solution. There isn't a solution. There's a constant solution. Like, yes. And you must always fucking fix it. It's already broken and you just have to keep on putting the fucking tracks down.
I call it surfing. right? Like there's so many analogies I've used, like lace up your shoes and run, like Indiana Jones crossing the bridge that's collapsed, the rope bridge that's collapsing,
Right.
like it all comes down to nobody owes you anything. Nobody's going to give you anything, especially in entertainment. And so the only things that you can possibly do for yourself are constant motion. Like the moment you lock in and rinse and repeat on anything, any aspect of your career, you're hosed, because there's no moat, there's no, society doesn't owe you your, anything, your career that you spent 10,000 hours getting to. And so it's not that you necessarily have to fight, but you do have to, when an opening appears, you need to jump to it. Everything I did in VFX was expensive. I was very well paid at the time and was outsourced within 3 years. I was a tracker when there were not very many trackers, and that was a really hard thing, doing face tracking and everything. That was hard. And now it's a button. I was a fluid sim artist, and within 3 years it was 600 Indian names, in a B movie, and it's like, that was just repeat. And even now, I did a ton of VR work. We started at Mirada, I continued it afterwards. I haven't touched VR in years.
Right. Well, you made a terrific VR movie, like an actual coherent, great VR movie, which is totally awesome.
Starring Carolina Widra, the hot pluribus.
That's right.
Companion.
Yeah.
I was like,
super
awesome.
What was it called?
It was a zombie film.
It was a zombie. So it was an idea that started. There was this thing. I was always. We added a little interactivity, but I was always on the sort of the narrative video side of VR, not the game, side. Did volumetric and stuff, but narrative and video, camera origin based. And I had this kind of like inkling feeling in 2016 that 180 was enough. That 360, everyone's like, no, it's got to be 360. And it was like, well, in 360, you either look down and see nothing, so you're a ghost, or you look down and see a neck hole, and so you're the headless horseman, or you look down and see a logo, or you're in 180 and you look and you see the edge of frame and you go, oh, there's nothing there. So I ask you, which is more distracting? And so I came up with an idea for a short film to kind of prove that a little bit, of like 180 is enough. And just leaned into a lot of ideas that I'd had, and I made the short film. It's you're a baby strapped in in your chair in the back seat of a car, stuck in a traffic jam, and your parents are in front of you. It's just a little drama, and the traffic jam that your car is stuck in might be trying to evacuate the city from a zombie apocalypse. This was filmed pre-pandemic. It was very pandemic-y,
right?
And it was almost done just before the pandemic hit in terms of all the posts. There was a lot of problems with post, which was great because it solved a lot of things. It pushed a lot of tech forward. There are buttons in Resolve that are the direct result of the work that I kind of was doing and yelling at them for. So it's all worthwhile. But then the pandemic hit, and it was like, nobody wants to watch this.
Yeah,
this
is very depressing. This is very scary.
This is like digging into an active wound that everyone has right now.
Exactly.
It's claustrophobic. It's about some kind of virus thing. Everyone's freaking out. Nobody wants this, and so finished it end of 22 and released it in the festival circuit in 23, and it's kind of sitting on a hard drive right now.
But the big difference between this and other examples of things I've seen like it is that it's a good movie. Like that, this is the thing that
it's a story.
It's a story. It's an actual story that you're supposed to be watching. It's a story. That's the whole idea. And I think that with all the tech waves that happen, from WebGL on, whatever it is, what consistently makes your work interesting isn't the tech. It's the fact that you direct a movie, that you make a story happen.
Thank you.
This is the thing that a lot of people miss whenever new tech comes around. They're like, oh, wow, this tech. I guess I'll film another lens test. This kind of stuff.
And I think that was a tactic that we kind of developed organically at Mirada that I've continued since, which is the people that are paying for any sort of new tech is the tech companies, and they want the features of their tech to be demonstrated, and they want to sell their tech to their customers. And the pitch that we kind of started at Mirada that I've used on and off successfully since is, how about instead of making a commercial or a camera test or, appeal to the people that are going to buy this tech, whatever it is, AR, VR, goggles, cameras, whatever it is. What if we make something that their customers, the audience, likes?
The people the money comes from, by the way.
Yeah, let's skip your customers and go to their customers.
Yes.
So that their customers go, that was awesome. I want that.
Yes.
How do I get that?
Right.
And then your customers come to you and say, how do they do that? And, and we did that successfully. We did that for Tango. We did that for Real Sense. We did that for Various. We did that for Jaunt. We consistently were like, let's not talk about the product and its features and try and show it off. Let's use it to the fullest of its abilities to make something good that lay people, the end consumer basically will enjoy, and that will flow backwards. And sometimes they get that value chain. Sometimes they're just kind of like, here's the bullet points, and we really need, we're going to need all of these in 30 seconds. And a lot of those kinds of conversations, either I'm not the right person for it, or it just straight up dies, or it goes that way and it's miserable and everyone hates it.
Right. But yeah, man, this is like when Chris and I were working on the V-Ray ad that we just did.
Yeah.
Like this is like all the thing that we're selling in the ad is everything that's happening outside the window of the train, right?
Yeah.
And the first thing we sat down and just like, okay, so we're gonna be really out of focus on that. And it's gonna be totally overlit and blown out. And they're just like, but we're trying to show that off, and I'm just like, nobody watching the movie cares about what's happening with the cactuses.
No,
at all.
But the most important part is that everyone believed we were on a train.
That's
it wasn't
the whole idea.
It wasn't because they could. It wasn't because they could see a clear cactus and the clouds outside. It's because it looked like it was outside.
Yeah, if you're thinking about the visual effects, I've made a bad movie.
Even the first one that you guys made, the was a little bit more focused on V-Ray, right? Like the narrative was very much.
Well, the narrative was, but there was absolutely zero V-Ray used.
But there was no computer. No, there were no computers.
Yeah,
there were no computers.
Yeah,
but I think that's an exact example of that thing I was doing in parallel at Mirada, which is like, let's just make something good with this tech.
Yeah.
And that will be the best way to get people excited about this tech. Let's not just do an ad for it, because ultimately that's very boring. And
the irony is that because we found that really great location, which was the Heritage newspaper building, which was the bank. Which
yeah.
we used as
the
the
first
bank.
one.
Yeah.
The bank.
It looked gorgeous
Yeah.
space, right? Everyone thought, like, oh my God, look at that bank. It looks amazing how they rendered that in V-Ray. And it's like, nope, that's a real bank.
No, it's actually a really cruddy part of town. It was kind of cheap to get.
Super scary. Super scary part of town.
Super scary.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's the case, right? Just tell a good story. And even if you're trying to tell a tech story, just tell that story and make it
the most
fun and
beautiful
entertaining.
thing about the uninformed audience that ends up with this stuff is that they do have one thing going for them, is they don't give a shit about the tech, and they are focused on whether they're having any fun. That's it.
Well,
that's literally the only important thing.
And not to drag this episode into a quagmire, but a lot of what we're talking about really applies to AI right now, where
so much so. This is exactly where I want to go.
I posted I got very frustrated. I didn't have much time, but I was reading Threads or Instagram, whichever it was, and it was like the 47th consecutive either anti-AI or pro-AI posts that were both insufferable.
Yes.
Right?
Agreed.
They were totally insufferable.
Agreed.
And I just posted something like, neither of you is winning anyone over because of how insufferable you are. There were tons and tons of comments. Every single true artist just basically said, you're wrong, you're an asshole. I bet you would cheer the Nazis burning books too.
Yes, that's right.
Every single pro AI artist posted something that they made. Because that's what I said. I was like, why don't you just post what you made, and we don't care how it's made.
Yeah.
If it's good, we'll like it, and if it's not good, we won't like it.
Yeah.
So all the pro AI people actually posted things they're making, and half of them were like, I didn't make this with AI, but I do make stuff with AI, and it was very much. I was like, okay. And then every single good artist, traditional artist, was an asshole, like an insufferable asshole. And it was just like, nobody cares if it's made with AI. Nobody cares.
Let me give you something that's interesting that I sort of came to realization about. Being anti-AI is just as good at getting clicks as being anti-CG. And let me tell you the irony of all of this, right? I've been getting a lot of clips that are clearly made with AI, okay? Mm-hmm. That are pretending to be behind the scenes of movies that are all CG. Right?
Yep.
So there's a clip of someone holding a camera shooting a miniature city folding, saying this is how Inception was done. Clearly it's AI generated. Right? And everyone's like, amazing. It's amazing how Inception was like, you not only hate CG, you're being fooled twice, my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, the algorithm or the people that are creating AI videos are like people like anti-AI and anti-CG stuff.
They like getting
so
mad.
I'm going to make
it's a great thing to get mad
AI.
about. Yeah.
It's Joe Rogan, right? Like it's rage bait, and
it's a shakedown. It's just a shakedown.
It's just a little sickening, actually. Like it's just.
Well,
it
doesn't
make any sense.
Go ahead. Sorry, didn't need to cut you off.
I was gonna say, I think my favorite folks that are creating, and I'll drop a little nuclear bomb in a second. My favorite people that are using AI to create anything. The things I like about them have nothing to do with AI. AI is just how this single lone person is generating the content they want to make.
That's how they solve this problem.
It's like I don't know if you've seen NeuralViz. NeuralViz just uses Kling to do these really funny things. Right. NeuralViz's writing is fantastic. NeuralViz's video is just whatever. It's okay, it's fine. But the writing is, and there's this girl Trisha Code that is hilarious, and she's like vomiting AI slop in terms of just like her output. And you can attack it endlessly for lack of consistency of character and voice but she's funny, and she's actually she's coming from a place of joy. Done. Yeah, she's coming from a place of joy.
Yeah, and that's your job. You're a filmmaker. That's your job.
And here's the little nuclear. Why aren't the true artists attacking Refik Anadol? The dude is proudly using Gen AI.
Right.
Proudly in everything.
Right.
He's putting AI in the name. Why are they giving him a pass?
Yeah.
Right. Because I give him every pass. The dude went from using Houdini to do these insane, beautiful animations to using AI to do the same work. I have no problem with him. Yeah. But if I was talking to one of our good mutual friends, Ben Hansford, about it. I was like, if you're going to be vegan, you can't eat meat sometimes. So if you're going to be anti-AI, you can't be like anti-Midjourney but pro-GPT.
Yeah.
Like you can't be a little anti-AI. And also you can't if your stance is that AI takes jobs away, then all AI takes some jobs away and all AI is bad. Yeah. So you can't be like, but I mean, Refik, there's people. There's people. I think he's training his own models. I think he's training his own models.
That's fine. Well, this is because
I'm pretty sure he.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's my feeling. Here's my feeling on this. I think you're exactly right. And I think that it has mostly to do with these kinds of fights, as you pointed out, Chris, actually don't have anything to do with how we feel about technology at all.
No, it's about the clicks.
It's motivated by the clicks, and it has to do with how we feel about ourselves and how we define ourselves as artists.
But I'm gonna click on it.
This is where we click on it for sure.
I'm gonna yes and in a callback. Callback another improv thing. There are many people that are anti-AI because they feel that they are owed their careers as they stand today.
Oh, because they spend a ton of money on it.
Yes.
They went to art school. They put in their 10,000 hours. They really worked hard.
I went to Filmmaking Academy. How come I don't have a deal at the end of it? Yeah, exactly.
See, back to the Gen X is like, fuck you. I know you don't know anything. Keep moving forward.
Exactly. I mean, it's mostly. I'm an elder millennial. So I understand that. But and that's where a lot of this AI conversation recently. I have engaged it as a former VFX artist grunt,
sure.
where I'm just like, dude, I wasn't owed my well-paid jobs that I enjoyed.
Yes.
Like, those were taken from me. In fact, a bunch of you laughed at me while
Yeah.
they were being taken from me.
Yeah.
And borderline celebrated closing the companies I loved.
You're not doing anything. The thing is, like, for instance, like I don't look forward to ever having a matte painting gig again. Like the last movie I worked on was Dune 2, and it's not like I'm doing lots of things right now, but it's not like I turned the close sign around in the window. I'm just like, people know that I do this. If I'm available, absolutely, but that it's gone down to a trickle. I expect that it will never come back, right? So I understand that avenue for me making money is gone. I better be doing something else. Like, it's just gone. Like, that's that. Yeah. And I understand, thanks to knowing people, like I always bring him up, but Tom Saint Armand, a great animator, he animated on Empire Strikes Back, right?
Okay.
And he animated like the chicken walkers during the Hoth fight and jazz like this. And Tom had told me, he's just like, when Jurassic Park came around, like all of my stop motion animating friends were like, well, we're fucked. Like, this is it. And he was like, yeah, that's it. And so he learned to animate on the computer.
Yeah.
And then the rest of his friends just went out of business.
Aaron Sims did the same thing. He's like, I guess I better start figuring out how to make creatures in the computer.
This is the nature of the business. And if Tom's listening and I got that wrong, then I apologize, and please correct me. But like, that's the vibe I get. And just like, it is the nature of being an artist, to continue to artist however you can. Like, that's what you have to do. Yep. You can't sit around and say like, well, how come my giant tray of art didn't appear in front of me today? Like, because you're the one who makes it. That's it. And if you don't do it, then that's it.
I do have to say, even as someone who's I'm not trying to be an apologist or a critic of AI stuff, it is a little bit tiring when you see it and you're like, it just looks wrong. But that
goes to my statement of, if it's good, we will like it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So like a lot of AI is bad. Whatever, cinematography, acting, CGI, VFX.
It just all feels the same. It feels like it came out of the same.
Well, it's super smooth, and
and the lighting all looks the same, and the lighting looks good if you've never seen anything like it, but otherwise it all looks the same.
Yeah. It's slop, and it's regurgitation, and it's not
And whose fault
all
is
the
that?
Things.
Whose fault is that? Right? This is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, because like the thing is, if you make something that is shitty and you put it out and say, "Look what I made," and people are like, "That's shitty," then they should blame you. Like, you are the one who fucking.
Oh no, but they love to credit the tools, man. This has always been the case. I remember, a fabulous movie I worked on called Stealth ages ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A+ on Tubi. Check it out.
But there was a shot that, I forgot her name. She was an amazing artist, but granted, it was like 20 plus years ago. But she was a great artist. She did a shot of one of the planes landing on the aircraft carrier. That, by the way, that shot was so well, perfectly lit and composited that it was used in social media where people thought, look at the latest new technology from from the Air Force, when it was clearly a shot from a movie, right? Anyway, she did such a fantastic job. I remember her doing that. Everyone was like, oh my God, that looks incredible. What HDR did you use? Because that's what made that shot look great.
That's what it was.
HDR.
It wasn't the fact that you're good at what you do.
Not the freaking artist who did the right things to make that look right. Oh, no. You used the right HDR. That's the secret.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing also, right? Like, tech companies and VFX companies, right? They want to pretend. We don't use the term anymore, but it was highly used in the past, the term secret sauce, right?
Because,
and that term is terrible, because it implies that they have technology that makes everything better. Yeah,
that somehow supersedes the people that are using it.
Right. So secret sauce is Soylent Green, and it's people. Right?
Yeah, it is
like people are the artists. The artists.
It's just people.
Right. And like, and I don't want to dismiss it, but like there was stuff that was going on at Digital Domain where they were like basically saying, "Oh, we have the technology to make digital people really great." It's like, no, you have the artists. that are really
the
good.
technology is me, motherfucker. Like, that's it.
You have
Like,
people
that's
who
what it should come
understand
down to,
anatomy.
right?
You have people who understand how to make beautiful skin. You have people who write great shaders.
Yes.
You have compositors who understand compositing and lighting and all these things. And all of that works together. It's not a secret button that makes this technology
Totally.
better.
Right. And this
Well,
goes back to the way that you have made movies with weird tech. Is like you're looking at the weird tech. Is like what does this do that either makes my life easier or is a weird challenge that makes me think of other stuff? Like,
yeah,
that's it.
it's kind of, like every new tech, it's like, I've got this stupid little brush from a Roomba here. It's like, okay, what does it do?
Yeah.
How does it work? And then a lot of the stuff that ends up in the finished project is like happy accidents or unplanned or, or it's just like, like what you guys did, right? Where you're blowing the screen out to make it look right. You're not using it.
By the way,
You're just not-
you know what we did is we told the DP to light it correctly.
Yeah. Like exposed for fucking sunlight. It's supposed to be
That's
sun
not our job.
outside.
That's the DP's job.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I mean but that's the like you didn't try to make sure that there's a little more so everyone knows it's an LED wall.
Yeah,
just in case.
Why don't we keep
Just in
the
case.
actors out of focus and just have the wall in focus and then just see if we can tell a story?
And I think that's to fast forward the career a little bit. After Mirada, I was independent for 3 years, did a bunch of fun stuff, and then landed at Sphere. And I was tapped to build I was hired to be the head of post production, and then they parked the playback team, which is in Burbank here. The playback team is more R&D and sort of figure out how all the tech that goes into the venue will work. And then the studio technology team as well, which was basically the IT for the Sphere Studios. And I had an experience early on because they parked, post, I was fine. I was like, yeah, post, we'll build a studio basically. But then having playback under me as well, there was a very specific day. It was the middle of COVID. It was we moved into our studio as COVID hit, basically. It was super, COVID was a huge part of it. So my teams, plural, were in charge of racking the PCs and, plugging in the switches and stuff, because the teams to do that were in New York in their basements, right? Because it was COVID. They couldn't fly. And we were having trouble with a NIC. It was a 100 gig NIC. And one of the guys on the playback team solved it. And in my immediate reaction was like, you're playback, we are computers and post. And it kind of made my mind expand a little bit. And at Mirada, we had gone from like motion design and VFX to motion design, VFX and sort of interactive, and tried to figure out, who in the hierarchy of things is a creative director or a visual effects supervisor the one to make this call, right? And then we added like, is the lead software engineer, is the UX designer, where do they sit relative to the Houdini artist? So we had already negotiated that and formed that triangle very consciously and tried to be in the middle and blah, blah, blah. At Sphere, it was the first time that I was like, oh, it's all pixels, it's all computers, it's all network traffic. Everyone has different sort of inroads to this technology and perspectives on it, but we are all dealing with 8-bit, 10-bit, 12-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit RGB values that are either being captured by a camera sensor, processed in software, or played back on a projector or an LED or a TV screen. Everyone actually has something to bring to it. And so at Sphere and then since Sphere, I've been very multidisciplinary focused and very sort of like, I don't want to work with people that do have a specialty and a lane. I want to, if I'm going to work with a visual effects artist, I want to work with a visual effects artist that's been fucking around with Arduino.
Yeah, so they're thinking bigger than themselves. Like that, that's how
realizing
you make the
right. It's the fact that it's all the same thing.
It's
right?
all the same
like
thing.
When you get your blinders on,
yep.
you're when it's VFX, it's like, are you a Maya house? Are you a you guys are using Nuke, right? You have this like, this is the way things work,
right.
And as soon as you kind of like step back and look wider, like I said, the playback team knew networking more than the VFX team, because the VFX team doesn't actually have to worry about networking. The IT group does.
Yeah, right.
But the playback guys that are the artists on the box, at the media servers, do need to know about static IPs and like those things that we all sit on top of. Everybody's got a little piece of it. And so now everything that I've been doing and will continue to do is super weird teams that are just like a bunch of square pegs.
Well, because I want to ask you this, that it seems like to me, and I don't know if this is true, and I'm just saying, I wonder if this is going to be true. Like, does it make sense that things like as there's more media demand in multiple, like with YouTube and whatever, and things like AI make doing VFX in certain ways more accessible to a broader number of people. Like, I'm assuming that people will essentially form much smaller VFX groups that are very interdisciplinary. So they can
generalists, basically
generalists that form a small team, because they're like, and then they maximize, like, this is the style and the shit we do super well. So that's why you want to hire us, as opposed to having, this is the massive ILM experience, that has to be much more of like, we are tiny teams, get up on stage and do your thing.
I think that there's going to be more bespoke visual effects.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Boutique, bespoke. Yeah.
Which is more...
Boutique is one thing, but I mean bespoke more specifically. Boutique meaning there's still a firm behind it. When I mean bespoke, I mean like, I'm making a movie and then I'm going to do the visual effects.
Yeah, it's small scale.
Like everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Yep.
Super
like where the directors
team.
are on the box.
Yeah, figure it out.
For sure. Yeah, exactly.
I think it's going there because instead of that, and we're seeing that too, like Shane Gillis self-financed and sold a TV show. Tires is
right.
He
Exactly.
was just like, I want to make this show, and he got $0 to make it, so he made the show.
And Markiplier with Iron Lung. Yeah, you just fucking go for it, man.
And that's the YouTuber. The YouTuber is the ultimate generalist in a lot of ways, because they got to figure all that shit out, right? And so I think while I think a lot of filmmakers and I would have dismissed YouTubers as amateur hacks. I hate to say that, but I do think that a lot of people think that.
Kids,
right?
All
kids playing with like computers.
Markiplier is like 38.
But those guys are figuring shit out way more than anyone else. And especially when it comes to AI tools, right? Because no one knows. There's no pipeline for AI tools.
There's no pipeline for this stuff. Exactly. And the thing is, YouTubers have to figure it out as they go. Yeah, exactly.
And YouTubers are figuring out algorithm shifts and new tools,
Well,
daily.
that's their job. They have to, or they're irrelevant.
And it's because they got so, like, because they're constantly getting, like, big companies are constantly trying to screw them over. They are put in a position to have to generalize and have to figure out how to, like, how can I become more efficient at being myself and self-promoting and getting this out there? And they become more, like, Markiplier is so razor sharp at this now. Right. And so, like, because I was saying, like, first of all, I really enjoyed Iron Lung. I thought it was a blast. Like, that was like straight out of like 1980s VHS copy horror movie stuff. I was like, I would watch this in a double feature with Hardware any day. Like, this is absolutely terrific. Right. And I was like, yeah, this is amazing. This guy did this. And people are like, well, he's a millionaire YouTuber that's been doing this for 11 years. I'm like, I know. I'm not saying everyone becomes Markiplier, but, like, for instance, if you look at, we always bring up Easy Rider, for instance, like Easy Rider, like, broke open not just indie film, but broke open the studios into being open to being creative again, like investing in artists leading projects. Now, Easy Rider, we think of this is a weird little indie film out of nowhere, shot on 16 millimeter, directed by Peter Fonda, who is not a Nepo baby. Like, he's the son of one of the biggest fucking movie stars in history, right? So he is the Markiplier of his generation, right? Yes, okay, he's a fucking millionaire. Yes, absolutely. But
he grew up on set, basically.
Yes, he grew up on set, but he has opened the door this much wider, right?
Well,
that just because of that, studios will go like, wait a minute, how can we make money this way? And that's where we get more opportunities.
I think it only gets better when you combine the two things, right? Yeah. If you take someone with tons of knowledge of how it was done in the past and then excited about the future and say, how do I take what I know and reapply it towards the future or do this and that? Because I think a lot of people like, it only should be done this way because that's the way it's always been done. that's wrong, right? But if you say, if I know, it's like, okay, what are the benefits of me shooting it on, let's say, an Arri Alexa 65 versus my iPhone, right? There might actually be benefits to that. Right.
Well, I think
don't
it's
shoot
like
on an iPhone because Apple tells me I can shoot movies on an iPhone. Like use an Arri Alexa 65.
If you can get the Arri Alexa, use the Arri Alexa. Like if you absolutely.
Unless you're shooting a shot that was impossible before cameras were usable at this size.
Use the fucking tool that gets the job done, dude. Like you have a thing in your mind and you need to get it out into the real world. You're not like, well, I'm not going to use this scalpel today, nurse. Like you're just kind of like, oh, we're on the battlefield. You got to fucking cut the thing open. Like that's the job.
I've always said I didn't like working in feature VFX because I get bored.
Yeah.
And my favorite part of a feature schedule, which used to be, 24, 18 months and turned into, 6 months at some point, if not less. It was always the first month. It was what do we need to do? How are we going to do it? What's the pipeline going to be? I loved pipelines, and pipelines not necessarily as software, but pipelines as process of like, we're going to do this in Maya and take this to Houdini, and we're going to do this and we're going to simulate that and we're going to do this. And I loved that. And it would be like, yay, 200 more times exactly like it. If you mess up, we will notice. And so I hated, and I got so bored. And so that's kind of developed. I don't think this is universally true, and I think everybody's got a different experience in life. But to me, if there's a right way to do it, it means that this has been done before, which means I'm out.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that I'm trying to throw everything in the past out and everything's a reinvention of the wheel. It just means that, like, if we know exactly how to nail this thing, then it's boring to me.
Because I feel exactly the same way. I did the same thing. I was offered, after I finished Ghost Rider, another fabulous movie, they offered me a position to work on Spider-Man 3. And I was saying, well, this is exciting. So what's going to be new in Spider-Man 3? And it's like, nothing. If it ain't broke, we're not going to fix it.
Right.
And I was like, well, then I'm out.
Well,
there's nothing exciting to do. If I'm just sitting here writing Spider-Man.
Why are you there? As a director, as a filmmaker,
I mean,
as an audience member, why are you there? Like,
I'm not going to dismiss it. At a certain point, it's a check. It's a check, right? And it's a paycheck, and you're fine, right? I wasn't at that point yet. It's like I can get a paycheck and still be excited about what I do.
Yeah, but if you're a creative and you're the one who's making choices about your creative endeavor, right?
Sure.
There are going to be things that, okay, we know how to do it. We'll do it this way. That's because you want to get it done. If you lean on the thing that has been done a million times, it's only so you get it done very, very quickly to make room for the interesting stuff that you want to be doing.
Sure.
Like that's the point of that stuff. It's just like, you don't have to reinvent the wheels on the cart that brings the catering over to you. We don't have to do that part. We can leave those as wheels. But I do want to do something interesting and challenging in this scene with this technology, because that inspires me to make the scene different and interesting.
I think that's the difference. There are so many people in entertainment that are doing what they love, right? And what they love is creative things. And you won't find a ton of money motivated people in entertainment because it's a terrible business. Even at the very top, the studio heads, it's still a terrible business in the grand scheme of things. And so that's a problem for all of us, which is that many of these things we would do for free, our mortgages will not give us a house for free.
Right.
So, like food doesn't come for free. So there is a dichotomy and a balance that we all struggle with, of like, there are things that you have to do for money that you don't want to do. And then the balance that you're trying to strike is a place where you're getting paid to do something that you have found some joy in. And ultimately, that's why I left visual effects, was that a lot of that joy was not
Slipping
there.
away. Yeah.
But I still, everything I do is still like what I was doing in visual effects. It's the same parts of my brain. It's still problem solving. It's still using computers to make graphics. It's still sort of, being a part of a narrative storytelling process in some, whatever size, shape, whatever. But and to loop it back to the quagmire of AI again, I think that's what's happening right now a little bit, is that the folks that are being the loudest about sort of AI taking jobs are possibly for the first time, or maybe they're just tired and this is the 12th time, having that thing that they love doing, that they're good at, taken away, they feel like it's being taken away,
Mhm.
and it's not. It's being moved. Where it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you're really good at doing your art in Adobe Illustrator. It is now in Comfy UI,
Yep.
and the buttons have changed, but like everything's the same
Yeah.
if you're willing to
And
to
whether
kind
or
of
not
accept
you
it.
have taste enough to know when something is good still is what I'm paying you for.
Taste is the
That's
only
it.
thing you cannot teach taste.
Now
Taste
here's
is literally the only thing.
I'm going to channel Scott Ross in this argument. Only not that I necessarily agree with him, but he does have a serious point. Is not everyone really is an artist. A lot of people are button
100%.
pushers in visual effects, right?
100%.
And so they learn a tool, and now their whole job was learning that tool, and that job's taken away. So they have to learn a new tool. So they feel like the 20 years of experience of pushing that button has gone away. I
That's
understand
true.
that thing. And so there's some
This is
truth to that, right?
Mhm.
There's totally
I
truth to
remember
that. And
specifically, like there were people who used V-Ray who were like, I'm paid a lot of money because I know where all the settings in V-Ray are. And then when the settings went away because V-Ray got smarter and didn't need all those settings, they're like, fuck you, what's my job now? It's
What
like,
am I supposed to do then?
where's my secret sauce?
There's
Call
Yeah.
back.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And but still, the answer to that is the same, which is like like to yourself. Ask yourself, what is it you enjoy about what you do?
Right.
Because this particular avenue may be closed to you, but there's some other way to express the doing of this. There is. Like
Right.
if you like being, the knob switching dude, there's knobs galore in the world. But you may have to change your context.
They moved the knobs.
They moved
but,
the knobs.
But
That's it.
But they're still there, and
They're
they'll
still
pay you
there.
to push them.
Yeah.
And they'll pay you to push them.
And there's 1,000 names that are used in the visual effects credits for Avatar, whatever. Not everyone is James Cameron, right? No,
Yeah.
and not all of them are amazing artists. Some of them are just button
I am one of,
pushers.
in regards to matte painting, I am one of those guys. Like
Yeah.
it's not like
So was I.
I'm Rembrandt. I'm pretty good, but I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not Mike Pangrazio doing the Battle
Absolutely.
of Hoth. I'm the
No.
dude that does the grass in the back of Zodiac.
Yeah,
Like,
and
wow,
my
could you have been
job as a
anybody?
visual effects lighter was to make sure that my lighting looked like what
Matched.
someone else established, which
Yeah.
was the DP.
That's
Yeah,
it. Like,
there's a lot of the okayist, right? Like,
Yeah.
or the okayist lighter, the okayist modeler.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think, that is what we're talking about now with the industry, kind of like, really in a lot of ways, and it's more financial than it is AI, but it just really crumbling and shaking, and what's that going to do? What's going to come out? It is a lot of the button pushers that maybe got into it for the love and the art,
Mhm.
but then just kind of decided work life, I'm going to go with life. And
Absolutely.
work is just pushing buttons. And I get to work on big movies, but honestly, I don't care.
Right.
And now they just move the buttons. Maybe, that is going to be a lot of people, especially in visual effects. It was with Roto. We all used to know Roto artists that worked in Los Angeles. And
Right.
I challenge you to name a single Roto artist working in Los Angeles today.
Right.
Tracking is becoming very similar. It's all going to be, look dev. It's all outsourceable at that button pushing level.
Mhm.
I think what's going to happen is the folks that got into it for art,
Mhm.
whatever they define as the part of making entertainment that is
Mhm.
art to them, it's all going to kind of crumble, and they're going to be left kind of standing there a little
Mhm.
bit. And I hope that I'm one of those where it's kind of, the dust is sort of kind of coming past my head now. I don't know what I will be doing for the next decades of my life and career,
Right.
but I need to create things,
Mhm.
and I can't push buttons. I can't just push buttons, and I need enough money for life and for my family and my son's education.
Yep.
But money is not my primary motivator and never will be. And I know that about myself. And I think there's enough others like me. And I do think there's a lot of opportunity, and that opportunity is not an open door that you can step through. It's a collapsed building that you can survive. And-
It's very well put. Exactly. Exactly. A constantly
so-
collapsing building.
it's like you just gotta go like this, and it'll, like, it's mid collapse right now. And I don't have, if I was money motivated, I would be shorting the studios and the networks, right? Like I don't think that that the big factories and even the big VFX studios, I don't think that there's a place for that moving forward. It's too slow. It's too expensive. It's too small. And it's not necessarily YouTubers are going to take over, but it is the folks that are so driven by needing to entertain other humans.
Yes.
That they will find a medium that works.
This is this is the artistness of it, right? And this is like the creative response you're talking about is just like if that's what you're in the game for, if that's what means something to you, then you're like you will figure it out. Like
you'll be okay. You'll be okay.
It's really hard for the studios and the theaters to know this, because this every studio out there, whenever something is successful or it's not successful, they either attribute it or blame it on something that makes no sense, right? They're like, it was successful because it was the third week in March for whatever reason, right? It was successful because it came out on a Wednesday as opposed to a Thursday. Like, that's not why it was successful is because it was a good story. They can't pinpoint what a good story is, so they have to find some other factor that makes it work. Right. And that's, I think, what they're going to continue to do. They're like, it's successful because it was made by a YouTuber and YouTubers are famous. It was successful because this actor has this many followers on Instagram, right? Like they need something to quantify.
Yeah, something that they can count. They can say, this is it. And then, because when you start saying like, oh, it's because of this vague RE thing, they're like, that doesn't run through the program very well. How do I put that in Excel?
Right.
That's also why I gravitated so hard towards immersive and interactive, was nobody understands it, especially not bean counters. It's not quantifiable. It's at best a single dot, right? Like it's not. There's no understanding of anything about it, and so you
can't compare it to anything specific.
You can't compare it, and you don't know what it's going to look like, and it's an anomaly, right? I apply that across everything that I do. That gives me a lower tier creative, and I'd say lower tier because I'm not paid full time as a pure creative in any discipline, right? Like I'm a creative technician that can make some cool stuff. It gives me a level of freedom that only the top movie directors have,
right?
Where there's nobody involved, money, creative, technical, on many of the projects that I've done over the last 15 years that either knew what it was going to end up like or was more experienced than I was in it. Because I don't know. I've never used RealSense before. Have you?
Right.
No, you haven't? Okay. So here's what I think we should do. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so that's the cheat code a little bit that I found and that I've been enjoying. And there's a ceiling to how much success you can get because everything you're doing is a weird anomaly, right? Like making the best, volumetric, immersive experience is like, writing the best fanfic for some,
for Glengarry and Glen Ross.
Yeah. It's like,
which I would read.
So it's like everything I do is niche, but within that niche, there's an astronomical amount of creative freedom.
Yeah,
and it's created by lack of industrialization.
That's what the cutting edge is driven by that. Out of that comes things that when people react to it, they're like, okay, let's codify this and make a process out of it and all this other stuff. And on down the end,
we're gonna make that cheaper.
Yeah, we're gonna make that cheaper. And then on down the end of that band is the guy who's just like, where do I push the knobs? Where are my knobs? It always ends up in the knobs over here. But if you want the ultimate creative freedom, is just going, what can I do with this? Like, this is interesting. Nobody's trying to do something with this. What can we do? This is interesting.
Yeah.
And that's the yes and.
And there's no bar on it either, right? There isn't there's no bar the bar is literally a chalk line on the ground that you step over as you start the project, right? There's no sort of I've complained about this since I got out of film school. There's no farm league anymore. There's nowhere.
Man, yes, you and I say the same thing. 100%.
There's nowhere for somebody that wants to be a movie director to make all of the mistakes that a good movie director needs to have made. And my favorite example of this, Andrew Stanton, and I forget his partner on John Carter and Mars, very talented animation directors and writers, absolutely knew story inside and out. They made them change sports to live action gave him $250 million and not a single no in sight.
Yeah. Guys.
And the poor guys struck out horrifically, right? Like John Carter of Mars is objectively a bad film. Andrew Stanton is objectively a great director and was at the time he made John Carter of Mars.
Yeah.
But he was not given an opportunity to quietly make 10 films.
Yeah. He's
for,
like, oh, my friend Steve makes
500K,
incredible sandwiches. You wouldn't believe the sandwiches this guy makes. Let's give him $250 million to make the biggest sandwich possible. And then everyone's like, that's kind of bready, actually.
Not even
4 feet
sandwiches.
of bread.
Not even sandwiches. We need him to build this $250 million house.
Exactly. House out of roast beef? Was that a good idea?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
The same thing happened with Garrett Edwards, right? When he did Monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Great point.
it was like,
Great
oh,
point.
you can do that? How about Godzilla?
Yeah. Like,
And here's a huge freaking budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this affects
listen, he
people on all
survived.
different levels. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
He
But I mean,
survived.
like,
He went back to his roots. He went back
He
to
did.
his way to do things. And I
get
think
back in
it's
touch
great.
with what he's there for. Yeah, exactly.
And
I
Andrew
think-
Stanton is a very successful TV director now,
Sure,
and
absolutely.
he goes back and forth with animation, and like he's fine.
Right.
But-
Lord and Miller,
but-
same thing.
Shane Carruth, not fine, right? Like Shane
right.
Carruth,
Hard road, right?
I mean,
Primer's one of
Upstream
like the
Color
most
is
breakthrough movies I've ever seen. Unbelievable.
ever.
It's just
It's a high
absolutely
watermark
wild.
for like,
absolutely wild.
self-financed, outsider too, right? He was an engineer that was like, I want to make a movie.
Right.
And then, and everyone was like, man, you made that for $6,000. Here's $12,000. We just doubled your budget.
Yeah, exactly.
And he
right.
just was stuck in this hell forever. And then he self-financed Upstream Color, which is beautiful.
Mhm, absolutely.
And him but it's like, we don't have a farm league.
Yeah, because like
And-
the thing, well, and what's okay? Let me run this by you because like what I think is the reverse good thing about the farm league situation, because I definitely agree with you. Like especially with like studios used to have smaller shingles underneath them. Like Disney had like whatever it was, this little studio,
Mirada.
right? Yeah, and like they would go out and make like the reason why
Not
you
Miradas.
picked,
What am I thinking of?
Miramax.
Miramax. Yeah,
Why did I
exactly.
say Mirada? Sorry.
And so
I've been incepting it.
exactly. So like you get like Paul Greengrass directs Bloody Sunday, I think, in Ireland, like low budget, high action, intense movie, and they're like, great, oh, that did really well. Maybe we can think about him for the Bourne trilogy, right? And then that's how you bump that. You go like, I see what he does, and we can plug him into this. This seems to work. This is good, right?
Yeah.
Because they weren't plugging him into something alien. They're saying like, he's figured something out in this chemistry lab that I bet if we goose it a little bit, it's going to explode. Like, this is good. That's a good process. They make tons of money. Like it reinvents how action is done for a little while. And that churn is how studios stay fresh and relevant and make good action movies that people really enjoy. And indie filmmakers get the first level up into doing the business. But now, with the way the studios have worked for 20 years, it's basically destroyed that mechanism. And on the other end of things, like once you get people like Markiplier in the game, like Markiplier doesn't need to make more than $20 million on his movie because he spent $3 million. And there was nobody else in between him and that 20 million. Like that's it. When you can be that niche-y, right? And you can say like, this is the audience I'm directing this for. It's this big. It's specifically for them through this particular channel, and I control the whole thing. That leaves the studios in the dust in terms of just raw ROI. Like you are like, you can be as arty and weird as you already have identified your audience as being and deliver that directly to them and make that money directly. That's a greater creative model. It's a smaller scale creative model, but that's what allows it to be a creative model.
I highly recommend.
Blumhouse,
by the way, that people rewatch Silicon Valley because it was ahead of its time back in the day. But rewatch it now with seeing what's happening with AI companies and startups and everything else. But also independent filmmaking, I think, is also a good analogy for what it is. And one of my favorite little quotes in there, it still resonates with me, is when there's another startup company that had like made all this money, et cetera, and then they went poof and they disappeared, right? And they basically never met that expectation, and they exploded, and the guy went bankrupt, and everything went away. And he had it's like, hey, let's go out for drinks. I want to talk to you about something, because they were about to get a shit ton of money like way more money than they expected as a startup, right? And he went up to them and he said, "Hey, you went through with this process. Like, where did all it's like, well, this happened and this happened and this happened. And all of a sudden, like we owed all this money and it was sort of things disappeared. And it's like, okay, so what if instead of what you guys did, you took less money? What if instead of taking the $100 million they offered you, you took 10? And he's like, well, if I'd done that, then I would have had to do it with less people, but then I wouldn't have had all these expectations. And it's like, then my girlfriend wouldn't have left me and I would still have my house. And all of this. It's like, no one told me I could accept less money. No one told me I could do it for less. Right. It's like,
yeah.
Choose to do it that way and you'll have control from the start.
Yeah.
The Hollywood system is too big to fail currently, right? Yes, it is like...
So is OpenAI, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
AI, NVIDIA, the circular financing. We could talk about that bubble. Yeah. It's going to be good. Look, I'm gonna need cheap GPUs for the stuff I want to do. So, it's coming. But it's not a failed model. It's just too big to fail now. And so it's like they're just looking for hits and that becomes more Marvel films, which disenfranchises even more audience members. And, it's in a death spiral that is going to be pretty ugly.
Right. I mean, Disney just announced their new CEO who is going to be on the park side, right? So they're basically they're trying to move focus away from content into
what makes money for them, which is selling enormous amounts of shrimp with pictures of Moana on the side of the thing. That's it. Exactly. Like this is like where you're on a boat, it's got Moana on, here's your shrimp. There you go. That makes a lot of money.
Before we go down this death spiral of Hollywood, what are you up to these days? What are you doing now?
So the last 4 months have been a fascinating journey that is coming to an end, thankfully, which is we signed a lease on a space in Santa Monica with no plan. When I was at Sphere, there was a big focus on strategy and tactics. Strategy is you think it through, you make a plan, you execute the plan. Tactic is you have already got the strategy, but you see an opening and you move aggressively towards it. What we're doing right now is purely tactical. There's no business plan. There's no. I was out of Sphere at the end of 22, so I've been indie for 3 years.
So you're on your own at this point.
I'm on my own. I'm doing weird projects. I just did an install last week of these LED trees that we did this beautiful programming of 110 birch trees and a beautiful thing. So very much just pursuing weird stuff, some projection stuff, some live event stuff. And we signed a lease on this building that I'm in right now that is very much a field of dreams. It's just kind of like I needed some space and some friends' companies needed space, and none of us needed all of that space all the time. And so we've kind of come together, and one of the primary subtenants is a friend I've known. He was co-founder of Visby, which was light fields when light fields were big. And then he went to Dolby and was doing more nerfy light field stuff. And now his startup, Ina, is here in the building doing 75 camera, red array, 40 Gaussian splat, nerfy kind of volcap stuff. So literally like the biggest, most non-strategic move of my entire life and career of just let's sign a 5-year lease on a commercial building that we only need 10% of. And it's working great. And we basically were like, here's the strategy. Let's just get a bunch of smart people that are very multidisciplinary, different backgrounds, different focuses, put them in the same building, share the rent for access to, we've got a 2,000 square foot kind of stage warehouse space and screening room and all kinds of great stuff. And share the space, but then also be there Venn diagram style to overlap and help each other out. And that's already, that theory that would be good has already paid off, where things will come in the door and somebody will be like, hey, does anyone know about timecode? And be like, absolutely know about timecode. Have you thought about this, that, and the other? And then somebody else was like, ooh, wireless? Okay, so here's where you're going to need to do. So just getting a integration brain trust
I
together,
feel like what you're
basically.
saying is metaphorical for what people in Hollywood and filmmaking should be doing as a group
Yes.
at large.
Yes.
You know, like this
it's
is
like
what
the
we're
microcosm. It's
Yeah.
the seed, hopefully, of
Yes,
like,
I
just
completely agree with that vision because
just
like,
get a whole bunch of people together
Labs.
and
We need a lot
it'll
more
work out.
labs.
if I can do
This
it,
is a
like
lab.
making
This is a lab.
stuff for people
Right.
to
This is a lab.
experience. Yes,
It's
absolutely.
it's what's the other term? It's called is this a thing?
Is this a thing? Is this a thing? Yes.
This is, I
Because,
think,
because like waiting around for someone else to show up and give you something to do with your time
No,
is not a profitable way to operate.
just do a thing. And is it
Do-
a thing?
do-
well,
the thing.
and,
Yeah.
and then this space came out of the thing I've been doing for the last 2 years, which is I had this idea, and I feel like Doc Brown hitting my head on the toilet, where I was like, I came out of Sphere, and I got out of Sphere, and I basically, between COVID and the hours required of me at Sphere, I lost touch with my entire network, every friend, every professional connection. So I spent 6 or 8 months just having lunches and coffees and dinners and breakfasts, and I refused to do Zoom because I just did enough of that. I was like, I'll drive across town. I'll come to you.
Right.
And just spent a lot of time reconnecting with people, mainly kind of like, what should I do next? Should I go back to VR? How's VR doing? Should virtual production seems like it's doing pretty well. Should I do that? And to the person, every single person I talked to was like, oh no, man, I wanted to have lunch with you because I thought you knew, because this shit's on fire. I like, I was hoping that you would tell me, because, and so that led to this kind of like, all right, well, what are the universal true things, right? Like, what is throw medium and technology out of the equation. What do people like doing? And I started asking people, like, do you listen to podcasts? Do you, like, what do you do for fun? I even like made a survey at one point. I was just like, what do you do for fun? And that turned into identifying these kind of North Stars of like, people want to be together. It's mostly a reaction to COVID, but it is bigger than just COVID, loneliness epidemic, loss of third places, all of this. People like music. They differ wildly on genre, but in general, people like music, and we like moving images. We may not like movie theaters or VR headsets, but like we like moving imagery, and we like stories. We like narrative. And so I was like, all right, so let's just put those things in a pot. And then the Doc Brown was literally, I drew a Venn diagram of music videos, short film, a little overlap, film score, dance music.
Yeah.
And then in the middle, and in the middle, I just wrote loud movies.
Yeah. Loud movies, baby.
and it was a year before I knew what they were. I was just like, I think it's like going to a rave to watch the Animatrix.
Oh my God, I would. Yeah,
I remember that.
That should be the most popular thing in the world right now. Good life.
I was like, I think that's what it is. And so it was a year of talking, and then I got sick and tired of talking about it because I was getting in these like looping theoretical arguments about what it was and wasn't. And so finally, I was just like, let's just start making them. And so end of 23, like August, September, October, somewhere in there, just started pulling videos off the internet, cutting them to music, and then we're like, oh, we need lights. So then started figuring out lights, and like every technology that we tried started with a like, what about, what about ground fog? What about lasers? What about, and it was like, I don't know, let's try it. And I've been calling it the spaghetti catapult of just like everything goes in the catapult. And now we're, mid end of 23 until now. We have a pretty good understanding of what loud movies are. They're basically narrative, immersive music videos that are DJ'd live.
Oh, it's incredible. That's an incredible
And so
concept.
it's this like integration, like the astronomical amount of integration work that we've had to do to get time code working across ArtNet and SMPTE with lights and lasers. And we beat everyone in the world to tracing video with lasers.
That's amazing.
By like 4 months, and then now everyone's doing that. But so it's just like try it. And then this space was like we kind of need a more permanent, full-time sandbox that we can
Right.
be, the projectors are plugged into the lasers with the LED screens and the floors and the sound system. So we can just like not spend our time turning this stuff on and just getting it working, and instead spend our time just experimenting with the creative. And
Can people
so
see examples of this? What's the best place for people to see examples of what?
it's I've been describing, we're in a bootleg demo tape phase where we are just pulling stuff down, other people's music, other people's films and music videos, recutting them, trying stuff out, throwing it at the wall. So there's no media online. We do, little demo nights where we just kind of, like you said, literally the first demo night was 4 friends and, in my friend's place. And I literally was just like, is this a thing?
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
should I,
Yeah.
should I feel like this is a thing, but if you guys unanimously say there's nothing there, I'll stop and I'll just walk away from this because this is going to consume me.
Right.
And everyone was like, no, it's a thing. It's a thing. And so we've just been chasing the loud movies, like, and I keep saying it's a medium. It's not a show. It's not a company. It's not a product. It's not an album, a film. It's like hip hop. It's like,
Yeah, it's
there's
an
room-
experience. Go there and experience this. This is insane.
It's a medium.
Yeah,
It's
right.
a medium, and
Exactly.
also it's an open source medium in terms of like, if somebody wants to do their own loud movies, awesome.
Mhm.
Let me tell you how.
Yeah, exactly.
The core of it, the thing that we have that nobody can take from us, is our creativity. The tech is just execution. It doesn't
The tech
matter.
is the tech. Like
The
what
tech's
I
tech.
want
It
to
doesn't
believe,
matter.
right, is that like if the economy collapses due to open AI or whatever it is, or the world
Pedophiles,
and,
I don't know.
yeah, like this a horrible network of people, demons that has seemingly lived around for decades. Like whatever happens to destroy the world, right? I like to imagine that I would see the both of you and all the people we love in the Reign of Fire setting. You've seen Reign of Fire with Christian Bale with the dragons.
love that movie.
Okay, movie's
By the
fucking
way, that
awesome,
movie
right?
is so underrated, I think.
It's so underrated. Visual effects are great, by the way. But the best moment in that movie is when you see Christian Bale on stage giving a play to kids, and halfway through the play, you're like, "This is The Empire Strikes Back." Like, that's us.
Yes.
Like we're gonna fucking figure it out, man. They gotta know. This is gonna be great.
No, it's I think my like reaction to the world burning down, because definitely COVID had me doom scrolling,
Sure.
in my copious free time, and just having a young kid, just like there's a lot to be really anxious, and the industry starting to shake, and having lived through the troubles and now seeing the new troubles, all of that could turn me very dark. And instead I realized that like we all grew up on a steady diet of cautionary tales and dystopian fiction.
Yes, right.
And because of that, we love Lay's potato chips of Mad Max, zombie,
sure.
apocalypse.
Yeah, it's
we
great.
feel just as bad after eating the entire bag in one sitting, but it's all we think about writing. It's all we
Right.
make,
Right.
like we're not like, science fiction got us to the moon.
Uh-huh.
And here we are warning everyone about what will happen
Yeah.
if you do this, that, or the
Don't
other,
go
right?
to the moon. Oh God, there's monsters. It's terrible.
Yeah, like you're gonna blow up. And so, like my personal thing, which loud movies has definitely been a part of it, is like focus on hope and inspiration and aspiration and joy and society and community. And like the reason, like we had a conversation with loud movies at one point. Somebody was like, "Hey, listen, I'm good friends with one of the executives at one of the major theater chains. I can get you in the room. They would love this, because what you could do is you could live stream this to 5,000 theaters. They would be blown away by this."
Right.
And I was like, absolutely not.
Right.
I want this to be ephemeral and live and interactive and unique and experiential. And the moment that you know that this was live streamed, or worse, just auto-played, the value of that ticket goes from, I don't know, maybe $50, $80, $100 to experience this thing to you better pay me to come to your movie theater and sit and watch somebody in another city have fun doing this. And so like I'm very anti-VC, anti-scale, anti-unicorn, anti-pivot, multiple return in 5 year, all of these things. and if you look at, so if you're anti all of those things, what are you pro? You're pro-human, you're pro-society. If you're an entertainer, which I have always been an entertainer, then you're about like making those people happy. And I don't see a path to that on a raw diet of dystopian cautionary tale fiction.
Right.
You know, like if that's all we're telling people, then yes, we'll sell tickets, but
Yeah. At some point,
Yeah.
we have to start trusting one another again and believing in a future
Well,
that we were all
there's-
a part of.
I mean, we've also lived in this idea that, you know, my life, if I go to Hollywood, I'm going to be famous, and if I'm famous, I go to the Oscars, and then
Yeah.
I'm on the red
Yeah.
carpet, and you know,
Fuck all
that's
that,
the
boy.
problem that people have, right? It's like
Right.
I
That's
know
the story.
when I entered, it was interesting. When I entered visual effects, you know, my first job was on Day After Tomorrow, and it was apparently very clear that the visual effects supervisor on that, the only reason she was doing that movie is because she wanted to be nominated for an Oscar, or better yet,
Yeah.
win one, right?
Yeah.
And it was her whole goal. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to make you all suffer so that I can get that Oscar.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
like,
It's no fun. No good.
and it was
No
like,
good.
well, spoiler alert, never even got nominated. But, and honestly, it's because of that aggression of like, I want to be famous, that
Yeah.
that person lost the Oscar.
Yeah,
So
it spoils what you actually love when you
Right.
start thinking that way, right? And so it's like I always think in terms of it's like I love cyberpunk fiction, right? But cyberpunk has become this weird like aesthetic as opposed to what
Yeah.
it initially was,
Yeah.
which is just like people fucking around with technology in the way that they shouldn't, so they can do the things that they want. Like
Yeah.
that is the, like,
Yeah.
like where you take you're just like, oh, the corporations may dominate our lives, but we can still have the life that I want if I break this shit down and make it happen myself. Like that is the hopeful edge of all of that, and you see that
Yeah.
like that moves upward into like solar punk and all these
I was
going
going
to
to say, have you gotten into Solarpunk? Because
Yeah, exactly.
I was a fan of Solarpunk before it was dubbed, because I read Kim Stanley Robinson's Mars series.
Yep, same.
And you know, since been renamed Solarpunk, but like
Mhm.
I love the concept of Solarpunk from just the sheer aspect of being like, what if we don't?
Yeah.
Like,
What
like,
if
you know,
we center the joy around ourselves and what we
What
can
if-
do?
What if,
And
like, oh, if we're not careful, you know, global warming is going to destroy the world. What if we're careful?
what if we're careful though?
What then?
About
What
that?
then?
That's interesting.
Well,
What if we
yeah.
what if we take control of where this ship is going instead of abdicating that control
Screaming
and
about
complaining
it.
about
Yeah,
it? Exactly.
yeah. Like, what if we don't? What if
Yeah.
we do
It's-
push on the brake?
I believe
Steer.
the ones that are doing this are us. So, but yeah, like this is it. And to bring it all back around to like the idea of like the film
what if
school
we
of it
do
all,
form
right?
a union? What if we do have a
Yeah, like when we take some action
Yeah.
that actually changes
Well,
things.
the wild thing was the VFX Soldier tariffs thing would have worked.
Yes.
Yeah.
like
That
this
would
is
have
the- right.
worked.
Like this is the
And I hate saying that because the the Trump tariffs are poorly thought through and applied, but like,
right.
that could have worked.
This is when
ironically, it wasn't about necessarily, and the same thing, I hate to say it, but the same thing that Trump essentially was saying. It's like, it's about bringing people to the table and negotiating a deal, right?
Right.
You don't really want to apply the tariff. You want to get people scared enough that they're like, okay.
all right, we'll talk.
Let's
Right,
rethink
right.
this.
But this is like that basic level of like taking responsibility for the thing you want to be doing, like as
Yeah.
opposed to abdicating that responsibility, is core to being a creative person. Because nobody is going to give this to you. You are going to make it happen yourself. And this is like, there's the great, what's his name? The filmmaker. I just said it. Mark Duplass's speech.
Oh yeah, the Duplasses. Yeah.
Yeah, like he gave this incredible
the cavalry's
speech.
not coming?
The cavalry is not coming. I recommend
I
everybody
saw
who's
that. I love
listening.
that. I love
Look
that.
up Mark Duplass, The Cavalry is Not Coming. Like that's for filmmakers, for creatives, for anyone who's doing this stuff. Like that should be your sermon on the mount as to how this shit
Yeah.
works. Like
Yeah.
that's how you get things done. And it's how, because there's all sorts of ways we can do this wrong. Like there's all sorts of ways. But the absolute tip top number one way to do something wrong, to do all of this wrong, is for artists to sit around and try to convince other artists that they're not artists. Like
Ugh.
that is a gigantic waste of our time. Stop
Yeah.
doing that. Like,
Yeah.
convince other people of art. That's it.
Yeah.
That's your only job.
Art is supposed to be communication.
Mhm.
Full stop. It is,
That's
you
it.
have an idea, a thought, emotion, an experience, a whatever that you
Yes.
want to convey. And art is the mechanism by which that thought, experience, whatever is conveyed. It is a form of communication.
Yep.
The medium has never mattered. Oil versus watercolor, DV versus film. It has never, never, never mattered. The message is only thing that matters. And yes, AI is stealing all the work that was,
Mhm.
which means regurgitating manually is getting harder.
Yep. Yep.
Making something new is just as hard as it was before
Yep.
Silicon Valley commoditized something old.
And-
So,
Yeah. And I
So-
promise you, the audience, like, if you think that AI schlop is going to take over the world, I promise you, not only do you have taste, but so does the audience. Like, if they
Yes.
don't like it and they think it's
Yes.
dumb, it ain't going to sell. Like, that's
And you
how
don't
it
need-
works. Trust
the
them.
audience is always right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing too, that so many people, they're like, all these morons watching that, or all these idiots, buying that, doing that. And it was like, stop.
Yeah.
Figure out why.
Yeah.
Figure out why.
It's because
Why
they
did
released
go
it
to
in the
that?
third week in March.
Yeah, that's it. The third week in March. That's it. It's not beware the eyes of March.
They don't. That's the problem. They keep trying to find some esoteric way to quantify things. Listen, I know this and this is not just in the movie industry. This is in the software business that I work on. I know people like look at websites and like, how many clicks and impressions did this get for this post and that post?
yeah.
And it's like, you're just trying to justify some valid thing because someone has a spreadsheet and say, if this number goes up, we make more money.
Yep.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so and when we work in a creative business where we are trying to get people's attention, there are a lot of bean counters that want to find a reason why that works.
Yep.
Right.
But in the end, nobody knows anything.
And that might work for steel production when they say economy goes up and I need more steel to build more houses. That might work. It doesn't work for movies or for what we do. And right now, this is the best part of where we are. Everything's blown up. So that basically means all that bullshit is out the door. And we now actually have freedom to do loud movies.
Rain of fire, baby. Rain of fire. We're on the stage.
Totally. It is an open road. The only thing that is not on the table is fame and riches
Yes.
right now.
So
which
never
is
happened.
good. Thank
Don't even
God.
know what it's like. Don't
which
care.
is great. Which is great. No,
Yeah.
and the true. I think honestly too, the folks that are in my life, you guys included, that have kind of maintained some form of artistry, almost to the one, have stepped as far behind the camera as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
After seeing what fame and fortune brings. And the that was honestly like 2012ish when I didn't give up on my dream of being a movie director. I had enough exposure to big movie directors, Del Toro being one of them, and seeing how shit the job was.
Oh, for sure.
And it wasn't even that there weren't enough seats and I didn't think I was going to get one. It was more, if I get that seat, I'm going to be miserable because I don't like that job. That job has changed. And so I think that's what you start discovering in this town, is that the top of the existing system, which I firmly believe is going through a major downward correction, is not a good life. You're not like Cameron. He's just like, if I can't figure out how to make these things cheaper, I'm just going to write a book about it.
Right.
Like, that's James Cameron.
Yeah.
Nobody has made more money for Hollywood as a single contributor
And they're still like,
than
wow.
James Cameron.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm like 30 seconds from out of here.
Yeah.
Like, that's the best. That's the safest. He is the safest.
Avatar
He's the
3 only made
safest.
$1 billion.
Listen, Brett Ratner had to do a documentary about Melania just to be able to make Rush Hour 4.
It's true, man.
Exactly.
That's what happens. That's the trade. Oh, boy.
This is it.
Talk about that's the crossroads deal you made, guy. You're just like,
Yeah.
okay, listen, if you want to make Rush Hour 4,
You got to make a story
and then
about
she just
my
comes
wife.
up out of the earth
And-
like,
yeah.
oh no.
All right, listen, we've gone really long. And I really appreciate it. Andy, you're welcome to come back. By the way, a couple things I want to make sure you get plugged. You're also on another podcast.
Yes.
Which podcast are you on? And tell us a little bit about that.
So Ed Dawson Taylor and I have been doing the CG Pro show, which is CG Pro has a podcast.
Yep.
I think most of us have
Terrific
interfaced
pod.
with it. And,
Yep.
And Ed, I don't know, back in like August, was like, I want to do a show, not a podcast. And I don't know what it is. And I think it's going to just kind of be organic and evolve. So we just did episode 10. We do it every 2 or 3 weeks. And it's very VFX, virtual production, AI kind of centric, because that's who we are, Ed and I.
Yep.
But it is also, we're wanting it to get to a point of as much audience participation as possible, where it is not just talking heads talking about stuff, but is more interactive, more of a feedback loop, more kind of fun.
I lurk via Facebook on that show
There
all
you
the
go.
time.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Absolutely great.
So we're just figuring it out. I'm in charge of sound effects and color commentary. So
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Hit the button.
We did that. Daniel and I had a different podcast in a different life, but we did a watch party thing on Twitch that was a lot of fun at some point.
Oh yeah, super fun. Yeah.
So
Love it.
yeah, at some point it's good to do interactive things. The problem with interactive things is that we're on the West Coast and the rest of the world is goes to sleep at that time. So that's our time zones are the problem. Right?
Yeah. No, we need to do it like China, just lock it all to Beijing.
I remember
it's your problem.
Yeah, we used to do it at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon in LA time, but we had people in Malta that would be up at like 4 o'clock in the
That's
morning
pretty good.
listening
That's
to
a good
us.
feeling.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, awesome. That is an awesome pod. I totally recommend people checking it out.
It's been very fun, and we have absolutely no intention but to just kind of keep building.
Do fun, have fun, man. Do things you love, and don't chase what you think other people love. Do what you love.
That's the only way to go.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, we love you guys,
That's it.
and you are welcome back anytime. This has been totally awesome, Sarah.
Thank you.
It's like I said, Andy and I have been telling jokes and talking about all this stuff for so long. It's great to get back on the horse with you, because I was just like, this is not being drunk and talking like this is even better. It's even better.
It's way more coherent. Way more coherent.
I think the ideas are correct. Not bad at all.
You see, just so that everyone knows, like Daniel and I have both been heavy drinkers and done a lot of these jokes, and since quit drinking. But you can still have fun without the alcohol. I'm not saying
It's true. Yeah,
you can still have fun without it.
I'm certainly more productive.
But that's actually a big trend. So this space is we're desiring to do events here, and we were talking about, well, if you're serving alcohol, there's liability, you need insurance and everything. And somebody pointed out, they're like, people aren't drinking anymore.
Yeah, it's
down like
gone.
It's like 40-50% down, especially in the kinds of events that we all tend to go to, which are a little more
Silicon Valley is huge.
I think I'm right.
And by the way, near beer is huge in Silicon Valley.
It's a big deal. Yeah, all over the place. Now, I'm not saying it was me, but it was probably me that started this. Like, people are just like, wait, Dan Thron's not drinking anymore? I better look at my life. If I no longer have him as a backstop. Good
You're
God.
the mirror. You're the mirror.
Exactly.
All this is saying is just looking at Dan.
It's
Again,
true.
I'm not saying that anything is wrong with people who enjoy alcohol, but I'm just saying that sometimes it's okay.
But also make movies. Get out and make movies.
Make movies.
It's much better.
And make movies. Entertain people. Entertain people. However
and then
you
there's
can,
and then there's such a thing as California sober, which is you still do pot.
Yeah, exactly. So there's lots of options, is what we're saying. Lots of options. AI, whatever you want.
It's always like, oh, that's called California sober. It's like, okay, gotcha.
Awesome, sir. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you, Andy, so much for being on. Again, you're welcome anytime, or if you want, like let's cross paths and different. If you want us on your podcast, let us know too. So.
Yes, please
absolutely.
do. Super
All right.
cool.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.